Have you felt like you're nowhere? Have you felt like a failure? What have you done with opportunity? Ready for it or not? Just getting along in your environment and past its shortcomings as well as your own is a challenge every day. I've felt all this before. I still do at times. Sometimes if you look outside at it all, however, you might get a laugh, or you might experience horror, or something in between. Life can be far more surreal than we might think at first. All of this is encompassed in Donald Glover's breathtaking series on FX, Atlanta. One of, if not my personal favorite, on air currently. It's been an incredible experience to view, not only because I enjoy the show, but because of specific ties I've drawn to what it does so well on screen, as well as what's going on behind the scenes. As mentioned briefly in my Donald Glover video, he's been a huge inspiration to me since 2012, and his work highlights a great deal of the reasons that would be the case in this show. I'd like to talk about what I feel is so great about it, if you would have me. I'd like to talk about Atlanta. Right before we start, please make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy. Now, it's been said often that the show feels like a dream. This is most likely attributed to the surreal situations the environment places our characters in. The world is weird, be it like the main character Earn walking to find his jacket, and suddenly becoming surrounded by people in big cow suits for Chick-fil-A's free chicken sandwich day, or something haunting and terrifying akin to a nightmare only moments later, where the characters are parked in a car waiting for a contact, and then feeling something's just off. Later they'll see the atrocity of police brutality, where that very man sprints out of his house to be riddled with bullets almost without warning, while wearing Ernst's jacket. When I see it compared to a dream, it seems to allude to a heightened sense of reality on display, something possible, something that could happen, but almost too unfamiliar to those comparing. It's funny to me because most of what happens in the story never seemed too unlikely or my friend that I make projects with. Not to say we've gone to pick up supplies from our dealer to see him shoot some naked guy in the woods, but I guess it's just because where we'd been and the things we'd seen at the time of watching the show, it hadn't seemed more unbelievable than anything we'd recently been coming into contact with. It's part of what made me want to pursue the show. The episodes and their events really spoke to us. We don't want to make a Mexican Atlanta or anything, but we feel more comfortable and confident in sharing our views and heightened experiences on the world. It helped us want to share our stories that may feel familiar to it, but through our own lens. I owe some of that desire to push for this to Atlanta. I don't know if I'd be as comfortable without it. Atlanta also receives heavy praise for being so different and unique. In order to fully appreciate what it does out of the norm, it's important to understand how it does utilize established structure with its own spin. For example, in the pilot, it's written in a very traditional 3-act hero structure. A character is in their comfort zone, but they want more. So they enter the unfamiliar, adapt, get what they want for a price, then return, having changed. And this happens over the course of the premiere of the series being its first 2 episodes. Ern's coasting through life, sees Al's rap career growing, and sees opportunity. So he offers his managerial skills to his cousin he doesn't seem to get along with too well. He utilizes the contact to get Al radio play and uses his understanding of people when that fails to sneak it in. The song gets played and he meets with Al to talk. This means more opportunity coming for him. He gets arrested in what seems to be a not too uncommon occurrence in Al's life and upsets his partner, Van. He gets picked up from jail, securing his position, changing his situation a bit, but not on that personal level. And that's part of the genius. The writing staff knows where the story where a rapper and his determined manager trying to come up from the bottom is expected to go. So they forgo the big flash stories of meeting big music executives and figuring out how to promote the next big project. They buck against those preconceived notions and navigate through stories in the in-between, human, everyday lives, and they save the come up for the background because that's where the most interesting aspects really are. That's what really makes them relatable. They're humans. They're people. We want to relate to people. Because they move in the same spaces as people we might know or relate to for the most part, it utilizes established, compelling structure to explore these environments disregarded for years by TV decision makers. To a lot, this environment is new, weird, and strange, a little unfamiliar. But is it really? Previously, I incorrectly thought everything had to be different in my journey of learning when I'd listen to people say how great the show is, because it was so different. I thought I had to abandon all conventions to achieve greatness, so my art suffered. I made nonsensical, non-structured film for a while there. When I didn't get good reception, I had to go back to what I was doing wrong. After a ton of information seeking and revisiting things like Atlanta, I learned more of the nuances of what's being used and what's made new and what unique really entails. Of course, it's different for everyone's work, but I learned there's usually a tether to familiarity to establish trust between viewers and artists on a subconscious, fundamental level. These are tools. You use them as you will. You don't need to use everything, but it's good to understand how things work in order to make the best possible product. I don't think I could have come to that conclusion without Atlanta. The show's also extremely proficient at conveying its views and ideas in subtle ways for the most part. It avoids the trap of heavy-handedness so prevalent in a bunch of TV shows. Donald Glover himself has stated that he wants to avoid being preachy and trying to show it's trying to be important. That's not to say that he shies away from issues. Far from it, in fact. Systemic racism, police brutality, poverty, racial bias, and so much more are featured heavily in the show. But it's not talked about in monologues where characters have these loud, boisterous conversations full of tears and cracking voices and fingers being pointed. You watch these things go down ingrained in the daily functions of the world of Ern, Al, Darius, and Van's lives. It's how the show operates. It's how the world operates. It's pointed out in character expressions, avoidances, and interactions. This method is far more effective. It makes you eat your vegetables too, and this really helped me out. When I decided that I wanted to make a TV show, I was really pushed by the fact that Latinos were heavily underrepresented in film and television in comparison to the makeup of the country. And when we did have stuff on TV, I wasn't much of a fan. Admittedly, that's still the case to a degree. It was the forefront of all I made. It's like every character I wrote just talked about me not liking the state of things. Nothing visually engaging, nothing was nuanced, it was just my disdain. It was boring and preachy. Thankfully, Atlanta really helped me find the tool of nuance in visual storytelling. I'd like to think I've gotten better at those aspects of it, and I don't know if I could have figured it out without Atlanta. So, what are your thoughts on Atlanta? Have you seen it? How does it make you feel? What has it done, if anything, for you? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. I'd also love to go more specifically into characters from the show and themes that are made present, because it's so much more than I was able to cover. Feel free to let me know if you'd like that too. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. I'll see you next week. Until then, have a great time. Thank you.